There is an image floating around that has kind of come to define people learning about the Houston hurricane, Hurricane Harvey. Here it is. This is a photo you may have seen. It's people at La Vida Bella Assisted Living Center in Dickinson, Tennessee. And in case you can't see it there is water covering everything. And there are senior citizens sitting in water. If you're wondering how it came to be, what it is of that senior center run by Timothy McIntosh's mother. He received that photo from her and then didn't hear anything from her after that, according to Time magazine. And then following that, he tweeted it, and there were thousands of people who retweeted it. And within a very short time, thankfully, folks came to the aid. According to the report in Time, emergency officials rescued 18 people, including 15 nursing home residents from La Vida Bella Sunday afternoon. Dickinson Emergency Management Coordinator David Popoff told the Galveston County Daily News, "We were airlifting grandmothers and grandfathers," Popoff told the Daily News, and the McIntoshes reached out to tell people they were grateful for the show of support, saying, "We were very fortunate and are thankful for all the retweets, media contacts, and especially the promptness of Galveston Emergency Services along with the National Guard. Altogether, they saved many lives today." Very touching story.
I oftentimes complain about how terrible Twitter is and how detrimental social media can be, but here's one of the few cases where it literally saved lives. And looking at that photo, I mean, if you really focus on every single person for a minute in that photo, it's kind of amazing because it almost seems as though they're just living their lives and they're not like submerged in water, almost completely submerged in water. And I'm so happy that people stepped up and did something about this. I'm glad that the photo went viral and that no one died as a result of that flood in that assistance living center. It's just, oh my God, it's terrifying to me to think of family members who might be in that condition and might not get the help that they need to survive.
So look, we do commentary on these stories, so I'm going to do commentary. So I need you to calm down, okay? It is going to be somewhat political, and so the issue is government, because there's talking points from the right that government is always bad. Big government is bad by definition, and my counter to that is, well, doesn't it depend? What is the government doing? If the government is invading a country that didn't invade us, you're right. Big government is terrible. If it's getting inside our uterus, you're right. It's horrific. It shouldn't get between us and our doctor. Sometimes conservatives don't agree with that. But if it's going to the rescue of these poor women and other people in that assisted living center, it's wonderful. So it's not to say that proves that government is great on everything. No, we're not as black and white as the right wing. We're not as simplistic as the right wing. It depends. Sometimes government does wonderful things, sometimes it does horrific things. So let's use our mind and our judgment to figure out which is which. If we had had more government action, maybe we wouldn't have had as much climate change and this storms would not have been as severe and they wouldn't have been in this mess in the first place. If we had followed through on some of the regulations that Obama put into place to prevent further flooding in cities like Houston, maybe the flooding wouldn't have been as bad. So, and certainly I hope we can all agree that rescuing people in need is a core government job. So, and look, on the other hand, for Democrats who sometimes make the same mistake and go, no, government's always great. No, when the politicians are legally bribed by their donors, it's not great. So let's use our minds and our judgment to figure out how much government we need. And in this case, thank God somebody showed up.
Yeah, I mean, these are the weirdest feelings to go through because you see such devastation across the board. Houston is, that's one of my greatest fears, is a flat space in a flood. And Houston is a flood prone district, bayous, ditches, and it is there. Elle, one of our editors is from Houston, showed me a photo today of a giant freeway that looked like a river. And it looked like a river because there was a little bridge about this high over the water and it looked like you could take a nice little walk over the river. No, that was a freeway, and that bridge is supposed to be tall enough so you could drive a semi truck underneath it. It is terrifying.
Right.
And then you see these grandparents who are in an assisted living center that they themselves need assistance. It was great to see that they got out of there, but I mean that's a nightmare to me.
Look, there's also an issue of how infrastructure is built in the Houston area. There's this great writer for the Houston Chronicle, his name escapes me at the moment, but he talked about how right now there is overdevelopment in the Houston area, which is flood prone, that unfortunately makes floods worse. And the reason why is because there are, grassy areas, prairies, things like that, that are better at absorbing the water. And now there's so much overdevelopment, people are building concrete over it. And obviously concrete doesn't absorb the water. And so it makes the flooding worse. And so instead of addressing that, there are lawmakers in the state that continue to deregulate certain zoning laws that lead to this kind of situation getting worse. And so it's something that everyone should keep in mind. It's not, climate change is, exacerbating the issue, absolutely. The unwillingness to build infrastructure that could withstand this type of flooding is a problem. And then this type of infrastructure that actually makes the flooding worse is a problem. So
I remember when Inconvenient Truth came out over a decade ago, and they showed the possibility that some major American cities would be underwater, and conservatives laughed like, that's ridiculous, they're not gonna be underwater. Al Gore, you're nuts. Well, one of them was particularly about the World Trade Center, and in an Inconvenient sequel that just came out, they showed in one particular flood, the World Trade Center memorial was underwater. Now Houston, the 4th largest city in the country, underwater. And it's happened to time and time again in New Orleans, Louisiana. There was the biggest flood they'd ever seen last year. This is now being called a 500-year flood. I'm getting to think it doesn't happen every 500 years. It happens very, very often and repeatedly because the storms are getting worse because of climate change. It turns out the scientists were right all along. Big surprise. If you like this clip of the Young Turks, there's a whole live 2-hour show, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern every day, and you can download it or stream it and watch it without ads if you become a member. TYTnetwork.com/join.